Good evening, everyone. I'm Amy Gold, co-chair of the Drawing Center's Board of Directors, along with Andrea Crane. Though this is not the location I hope to be welcoming you from this year, I am nonetheless thrilled to be here to say thank you. It is with heartfelt gratitude that tonight we can celebrate all the Drawing Center has accomplished. You have joined us, sponsored us, and cheered us on, and the fact that we are honoring such a luminary group, Jack Shear, Henry Taylor, and Zadie Smith, gives us much to be thankful for. While we are sad not to have the opportunity to toast the Drawing Center and our incredible honorees, Jack, Henry, and Zadie, in person with you this evening, we are thrilled to raise a big virtual glass with you all to celebrate all that we have accomplished in the last year and all that we have to look forward to. Thank you for helping us to celebrate drawing, those who love it, and those who support it.
Forgive me for multitasking. I've been a bit busy during the quarantine. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank our donors for their tremendous support. The Drawing Center Gala is the most substantial fundraising effort of the year. It raises a significant portion of our operating expenses. Thank you very much to our generous board of directors, directors circle, individuals, foundations, and galleries who have been so very generous to us. We look forward to seeing you in person and to welcoming you to our upcoming wonderful exhibitions on Worcester Street. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Laura Hauptman, Executive Director of the Drawing Center. Thank you for joining us and welcome to our very first virtual gala. We had, of course, planned to gather together this evening to celebrate in person three remarkable individuals who have given so much to contemporary culture: the philanthropist, curator, discerning collector, and president of the Ellsworth Kelly Foundation, Jack Shear, the award-winning novelist, essayist, and critic Zadie Smith, and the extraordinary artist Henry Taylor. Instead, I'm here at the Drawing Center on the eve of our reopening after a temporary closure that none of us could have anticipated. What a time to be alive. We've had to learn so many new things so quickly. In visual culture, in its in-person form, we've all become more reliant than ever on electronic media to see what it is in essence, pictures of pictures. We know that there's no substitute for the joy of looking at a real work of art in real life, but this time apart has helped us reimagine how we can virtually connect with one another and with the art that we love. It's also brought home to us that seeing people and art in real life makes us love both all the more. For 43 years, our beloved organization has presented life-changing exhibitions, publications, and programs that emanate from the artists in our neighborhood, as well as those in a larger world. Our concentration on a single medium, from the perch of a handful of walls and 2,500 square feet of exhibition space, represents a freedom that only a sustained focus can bring. All of us at the Drawing Center have learned to appreciate a lot in these past few months, and one of those things is that we are incredibly fortunate to be a place where we can be small and think big at the same time. To paraphrase Voltaire, the Drawing Center is our little garden, but what we can cultivate from it can be a surprising bounty. We are a container and generator of ideas, a perfect setting for the contemplation of jewels on paper, and we're also a stage, even a soapbox, that gives space to artistic brilliance and artistic urgency. So what better place to gather virtually tonight than our beloved galleries, where we hope to come together again soon. We've reimagined this event in a way designed to make you feel like you're sharing a room with our luminary honorees. Each honoree will be introduced by a lineup of equally esteemed figures, including my friend, the collector A.C. Hudgens, who will introduce Henry Taylor, philosopher, cultural theorist, and novelist Dr. Kwame Anthony Appiah, who will introduce Zadie Smith, and for the cherry on top, the inimitable Agnes Gund, who will introduce her longtime friend, Jack Shear. Every year, it's my pleasure to thank the Drawing Center's community for more than 40 years of standing by us through thick and thin. In this period of unprecedented emergencies, with all the challenges that go with them, my gratitude could not be more profound. When our founder, the curator Martha Beck, opened the doors of the Drawing Center in 1977, she did so for those who draw and those who love drawing. Tonight, I thank all of you for having our backs during this truly tough moment in our history. Although we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, our challenges continue, and your support tonight and in the coming months is crucial to our being able to continue our mandate. So I ask that you give generously to the Drawing Center if you're able to do so. When I contemplate the Drawing Center's year before the pandemic, it's hard not to wax nostalgic. 11,000 visitors visited TDC in the fall to see The Pencil is a Key, Drawings by Incarcerated Artists, which ran through the beginning of January of this ill-fated year. With that show, we did what our institution does best and most uniquely, which is to present for discussion and contemplation vital issues in our lives through the lens of drawing. This show was followed in February by 2 monographic exhibitions, a commissioned installation by the Canadian artist Curtis Talway Santiago, and the first survey in the US of the brilliant Chinese artist and Qigong master Guo Fengyi. Both shows added new information into the art conversation, as well as proposed provocative questions concerning personal histories and self-invention, the visionary versus the factual, and the relationship of the indigenous to the contemporary. We couldn't have done these exhibitions nor prevailed during the sustained period of closure and reassessment of priorities without the enthusiastic support of all of you joining us this evening. Our board, helmed by Andrea Crane and Amy Gold, has calmly and bravely stood behind every decision. Our director's circle, a group of international collectors deeply knowledgeable and completely passionate about contemporary art, have cheered us on. And generous funders like the May and Samuel Rudin Foundation and Bloomberg Philanthropies have allowed us to continue education and programming online throughout the spring and summer. Our dedicated staff, 201, has helped us revision TDC's role during this period, and these changes will impact our organization's future when it's over. All of us have offered ideas, volunteered time, joined groups, protested, researched, and attended webinars with the goal of evolving the culture of the Drawing Center to be a more equitable haven for art and ideas for a broader number of participants. As part of a series of ongoing initiatives, I'm really thrilled to announce that the Drawing Center will welcome 5 new members to our Board of Trustees, each of whom brings to our organization their brilliance and their unique perspective. They are Adam Pendleton, Amy Silman, Curtis Talway Santiago, Rickert Tirvanit, and Linda Yablonsky. We welcome them with joy and are honored and excited to work with them to explore their visions for our shared institution. All of these new board members are visual or literary artists, and it is the artists of our community that have sustained us, not only with their participation in exhibitions ranging from The Pencil is a Key to 100 Drawings from Now, a show of new works that will open to the public on October 7th, but with donations of their drawings, their time, their knowledge, and their resources. This year alone, more than 100 artists and a half dozen artist foundations have donated works or funds to us. We're proud that our work is supported by the legacy of both great artists and those who have lived great lives in art. Our exhibition program is supported by the Andy Warhol Foundation for the Visual Arts, and we're able to offer free admission thanks to a 3-year grant from the Cy Twombly Foundation. Over the summer, we undertook a high level of virtual activity with our full staff, thanks in large part to the Willem de Kooning Foundation, the David Teeger Foundation, the Helen Frankenthaler Foundation, and the New York Community Trust, among others. At this pivotal moment in our history, all of us who have had the honor to be involved with the Drawing Center could not be more grateful to you, our cultural family, for sustaining us over our storied history and during this tumultuous year. So without further ado, I'll turn the program over to this evening's other speakers and luminaries and return to you at the program's conclusion.
Hello. Who is Henry Taylor? I think the word genius is placed on many prematurely. History does not anoint prematurely. The art world anoints prematurely. I believe Henry Taylor is a genius, and it's not a word that I use loosely. Yes, he paints portraits, and his subjects range from the street to the boardroom. His portraits of regular people and homeless all capture the spirit and personality of the sitter. I would say not unlike Alice Neal. I once described him as the Black Alice Neal. They both made tough work, the color, the line, the shapes. They create finished, unfinished work. Henry tells the truth. There is no label for a visual truth teller. Henry is not, no correction, Henry ain't no outsider or naive artist. Labels don't fit. He is a truth teller. He is a visual poet. I was blessed to have spent quality time with Henry and Noah Davis. They taught me how to see. They both painted life. Life is political. I think the fact that Henry is a people person who happens to be well-read allows him to capture the essence of his sitters. I'm sure we all have favorite works by Henry. I have many. Eldridge Cleaver in 2007, which was a riff on Whistler's Mother. He placed Cleaver in a two-legged chair in deep thought, smoking a cigarette. I will never forget the piercing eye against the abstract background. The work is powerful, political work. It's tough. I am blessed to live with many tough works by Henry. Tough is enduring. Tough makes many collectors uncomfortable. I think this is why I gravitate towards tough. I like tough. Henry would be considered a fast painter, but you should know there is great thought given to composition and message. Like I said, the man is an avid reader of current events and art history. I will never forget the comments from a workman in my home in New York City. He was blown away with the work, Getting It Done, 2016, in which the brother was getting his hair done. No, he didn't go to museums or galleries. He said, "This is real. This is the truth. This is my life, my world." His comments were truly from the heart. I then gave him a free pass to visit MoMA. Next time I saw him, we discussed another work that moved him, The Policeman by Kerry James Marshall at MoMA. This gave me pleasure on many levels because it was his first time going to MoMA. Henry, touched a nerve. His work touches people in all walks of life, the artsy-fartsy crowd and the street. I guess this is why I love him. Thank you. I'm out.
Well, anyway, I removed my easel from the living room, but last night I was actually painting in my living room. And of course, you can draw anywhere. That's the advantage of drawing. You can draw anywhere, and you can almost paint anywhere, but it's not quite as easy. You know, you can make a mess painting. You can't make a mess drawing, really. But anyway, I was painting in here, and I'll take you to where I've been painting. Sometimes I paint at home, and I set up a little studio in my garage. Come with me, like Mr. Rogers, come with me. Yo, Mary. And so When we get to the studio, I'll show you some of the paintings that I actually made here on the lawn of my friend Casey and Andrea Ellsworth. Casey, what's your last name? Anyway, so, yes, well, let's show her that I do draw. Don't draw as much as I like to, or should, but I do. And these are some paintings that I did since the pandemic. This is the most recent one. I was actually in here last night working on this one. I did this one a few months ago, and this one I actually started right during the pandemic because she was actually that week wearing a mask. Rachel Barrett, my friend Alice's girlfriend, and Jesse Williams, my cousin Alistair, and a few of my favorite artists. And so sometimes I paint here. It's nice when you're able to just wake up in the morning and don't have to think about traffic and just, just get up and start working. My little palette. Kind of stole this idea from Josh Smith. It's nice and light, just lift it up, So, like I should draw, I should also work on the elliptical. Boy, it's so unfortunate that we all can't just be together. Laura, Vern, Zadie, Jack, AC, and all the other people, you know what I mean? And that is, I miss New York, I miss traveling, I miss a lot of things like everybody else. But I do want to say thank you for honoring me, and it's a privilege to be honored along with Zadie Smith and Jack Shear, and Zadie, how you doing? I love you. And I'm a great fan of the both of you. Anyway, I just want to say thank you. And, I'm just elated, and it's nice to be acknowledged. I mean, you just start off doing something that you love and you never know where it's going to take you, Like I tell people, the only thing my mom said was stay out of jail, and you just keep living and I don't know. I'm just happy and I appreciate it and thank you.
Do you want a fire?
No. Light my fire. Do you remember we got this down in when I was with you when you got this? It was my first time in Basel, Miami. It was like the Pope had come to the Art Basel.
Oh, really?
Everyone was like genuflecting as you came down the hallway, down each between the booths.
So.
I actually believe so. Here, come.
I don't know whether we need a glass of wine. I'll go get a glass of water, please.
No, I think you need some wine. I think you need some wine. Do you understand we're going to talk only about sex tonight?
No, we can't do that. There are young people here.
Do you think I talk dirty to you? Do you?
No, I think sometimes you use words that I wouldn't use. And
you mean like or...
Oh, come on.
No.
You can't, we can't.
That's going to be totally in the film.
How did you grow up as far as your...
Don't turn this around.
No,
about
no,
me.
I wanna...
No. This isn't happening, okay? I know, this is like, you do this all the time. When you get, get cornered.
I know how to change the subject.
Yeah, and that's not happening.
Listen to the cuckoo clock we have.
Oh, nice change of subject. A cuckoo clock? What?
We do have 2 cuckoo clocks, but one
I
of them
bet you
doesn't
do.
work. It keeps me reminding me of what time it is.
Or how cuckoo the world is.
Well,
And dinner's ready. Should we go to the
Yes,
table?
we
I mean,
should.
is this like...
it's a very fun...
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Come in for a close-up. Hey, G. So they told me that this was going to be like my dinner with Andre,
Oh,
which is awesome. Which
yeah.
is like, how do you do that?
I think it is awesome. Now,
Oh, I finally got you to use the word awesome. That's like awesome. I heard you had sex with every artist that you collect. Is that true?
wouldn't that have been fun?
Nice.
You are too much.
So, is that where you want to go?
These 2 young people, these people are too young.
That's what young people do. Old people don't do sex. Young people, old people think about sex. Young people actually
Do it.
Do it. Yeah, exactly.
What does sex have to do with my life?
With your life?
It doesn't have much.
I mean, art comes from that place. I mean, don't you think? I mean, art and sex
Yeah, I think that
are all
that's
sort of commingled, or at least there is some kind of relationship between the two. And maybe it doesn't have to do with sex per se. It just has to do with the energy.
If it's related to a work of art, I think it could be very interesting.
I love that you spoke at Ellsworth's memorial. You were so supportive of Ellsworth's and my relationship. The way you, in your heart, held us as a couple, no one else in the entire art world was like that.
You were always somebody that took care of a person. I thought, well, that's true. Jack took incredible care of Ellsworth, and that gave Ellsworth a lot more time.
Jack is an unusual creature. He is a wonderful friend and has always been somebody, even when he was with Ellsworth, that I relied on very much. He's always been very generous to people. He started out by doing, even before Ellsworth died, he did drawings from artist collections from 1999 that he did with Annie Philbin at the Drawing Center. And then he did Twice Drawn with Ian Barry in 2006 at the Tang Museum. We also sit on a board together that is the board of the Museum of Modern Art. It's called the Prints and Illustrated Books and Drawings collection of the museum. He is terribly generous to that. He gives loads of things to that, and he also gives to the International Council, to Fate, and they're all about art. Now I'd like to celebrate Jack and turn it over to him, which we all should appreciate, where he will recognize everybody and anybody that he knows in his remarks. So here's to you, Jack.
Hi. I just want to say thank you to everyone at the Drawing Center and also to my good friend Aggie Gunn for introducing me. We're here with my collection of drawings, which I'm going to show you around. I'm going to tell you a few stories, and we'll go from there. First of all, let me tell you about my but my actual first exhibition at the Drawing Center that I co-curated with Annie Philbin. It starts with, I have some books here, which they're just like a prop, so. Drawing the Line by Michael Craig Martin. Drawing is Another Kind of Language with the Wynne Komarski collection. Drawings from Artist Collection co-curated with Annie Philbin at the Drawing Center and at the Hammer in Los Angeles. And Twice Drawn, co-curated, organized with Ian Barry at the Tang Teaching Museum in Saratoga Springs at Skidmore. So I guess the story starts with a dinner. It was probably the dinner for the Wynne Komarski collection at Harvard. And I was sitting with Annie Philbin. And we started talking about artists and what artists collect. I had seen the show in the Whitechapel that Michael Craig Martin had done called Drawing the Line, and drawings from collections in mostly in Great Britain, Scotland, and Ireland. Beautiful drawings. I was blown away by the depth and the variety, the amazing. I think there was a Michelangelo drawing in it that blew my mind from the Queen's collection. So we were sitting talking, and I had just seen Degas as collector at the Metropolitan Museum in New York. We started talking a little bit, and I said it would be interesting to know what contemporary modern artists collect. Like, I know that Ellsworth has a small collection. He really didn't collect very much, but and he didn't really trade with other artists because he always liked his works better than anybody else's. But anyway, he had some beautiful things. He had a beautiful Matisse drawing, and he had a nice Schwitters from 1947. So we started talking, and I said, well, I know Ellsworth's collection, and I know the Lichtenstein collection. Roy and Dorothy Lichtenstein had an incredible collection. And I knew of Jasper's collection, and I said, I can probably talk to those people, and maybe we could do a show. And she basically said, if you can get those people, we might be able to have a show. So that's the history of the Drawn from Artist collection, which was done in 1999, 21 years ago. So here I am, standing amongst drawings, basically that I have collected since Ellsworth's death in 2015. And I think there was something about investigating the medium that Ellsworth held really strongly. I mean, his drawings are amazing, and so my love of drawings has been around forever. I used to go to museums, LA County when I was growing up, and see amazing things. So maybe we could just walk around and look at a few things. First of all, let me show you something about how I install, which is a little unique. It's not salon style. It's basically a style that a French art historian called the Shear cluster. There's probably a really fancy French name for it, which I'll find out what that is. But what I basically do is put drawings together as almost compositions. And you'll see that there's stories being told, or identifications of medium, or possibly affiliations of countries, or, you know, in the fact of some tributes, like there's a tribute to Klaus Oldenburg come here, it's over here. I'll show you. Here's a beautiful tribute to Klaus Oldenburg with starting with the store from 1959. This is amazing, this 1967 drawing of pipes, gutters and pipes, and a fan and a soft fan from 65. So you have this kind of relationship. You have a relationship which has this beautiful Hans Bellmer with a Andre Masson and a Burne-Jones that just sort of come together as a story and as a unit that you read. The other thing that's really nice about having the drawing set up in this kind of way is it really has an interaction with the viewer. You are constantly not just going around a room just looking at one drawing, one drawing, one drawing. You have to come into a drawing, get up on your tiptoes, come down, look at this drawing. A little farther down, here's this beautiful Kurt Schwitters from 24. And here's an art from, I think, let's see, 1911 or 1906, I forget off the top of my head, sorry. I've also done things like just created on all four walls here, all four walls, there's one individual drawing that I've just wanted to just separate. This is a beautiful 1890 Syrah. That's one of my favorite drawings. Here we have a strange combination of, if we can come into this Picasso from 1962 that's dedicated to Douglas Cooper. And it almost looks like Gumby. And I paired it with a Jim Nutt and also a Tom of Finland. And I think there's a little bit of humor in that kind of situation that maybe an academic or Harvard or the modern might not do. But I sort of like things like that. Picasso and two incredible artists that play off the work of Picasso without ever knowing Picasso did this work. So that's great. There's a nice little Jasper Johns hand here, done in 1964 from Tokyo, paired with Puvis de Chauvin up in the corner. That just has a sweet little blessing. And there are all these moments that happen in the drawings. I think a particular favorite is over here. This is Ed Ruscha, great drawing for a drawings collector. And Lee Lozano is right there. And so this is a beautiful kind of juxtaposition of two artists sort of working out in beautiful black and white. Amazing. Susan Rothenberg. I just, you know, I have Susan Rothenberg, I have Bruce Nauman in the collection who are friends. I like this over here. These are pretty great. This is a Calder from 1931. And I was really lucky to be able to get this. And next to it, we have a Bruce Nauman. And really amazing drawing, a really wonderful piece of his. This is Joe Yetto, young artist. I don't collect a lot of young artists. I'm not exactly sure why. Maybe I just don't see enough, but maybe I need to buy more young artists. And then here's a little group here that's sort of very odd for some reason. I don't even understand why I put it together, but there's a Chalichev, a drawing that was probably a birthday card. And I think it's from Hide and Seek from the Museum of Modern Art's work. with an Albert Olin and a Bryce Martin. I don't know. I hope I get to do an installation at the Drawing Center at some time in the not too distant future. Thank you for honoring me. I appreciate it. Thank you for being the Drawing Center. Thank all the artists that are in my collection that I've been able to live with, to experiment with, to look at, and to basically, they're in my dreams. Thank you. Good night. I'm going outside. Let's go.
Writing is the most solitary and the most social of acts. We're all gripped by the image of the daily struggle, alone before the empty page or screen, even with those writers whose hard work produces an aura of effortlessness. At the same time, our major authors take their place within a tradition in dialogue with their literary ancestors, and they also create communities, societies of people who read together. I'm sure that's why one beloved false etymology of the word colleague is from collegere, to read together. We read together, and that shapes a common language of ideas to contest as well as to celebrate and share. An author, however much her work goes on alone, is also a member of a community of writers then, and writers who matter make other writers possible. Great writers don't just clear a space for themselves then, they clear a space for others. It's hard to imagine a novel like Conversations with Friends, to choose an example more or less at random, without the conversations of N.W. And this is true in a broader sense as well. The great novelist shows what the novel form can accommodate and accomplish. She leaves the form, the weave of voice, structure, story and sensibility changed forever. She leaves it larger, more capacious, more welcoming to the generations ahead. Many of us were first bitten by Zadie's White Teeth, a novel whose external astonishments include the fact that she completed it as an undergraduate, and whose internal astonishments include a thorough reimagining of the two-family saga. Other readers may have caught the beat only with Swing Time, but from one title to the next, Zadie has never stopped experimenting, exploring, surprising her readers, and maybe even herself. And then Zadie, like George Eliot, E.M. Forster, Virginia Woolf, and James Baldwin, but surprisingly few contemporary novelists, is an essayist of stature too. Her non-fiction is infused both by elegance and by moral energy. Her essays are moral explorations. They aren't propelled by the polemicist's, "Here's what I think." They're propelled by a self-directed interrogative. What do I think? And she never forgets the power of play. Who but Zadie would have written these words in an essay that begins as a reflection on her father's love of comedy, but ends up as a modern cultural history of the comic? I have to confess to an earlier comic embellishment. My father is no longer in a Tupperware sandwich box. He was for a year, but then I bought a pretty Italian Art Deco vase for him, completely see-through, so I can see through to him. It's hard to be funny about comedy. Zadie, of course, succeeds. Above all, she has a singular grasp of multiplicity. She has, as she once said, a lot of contradictory voices knocking around her head. She doesn't seek to harmonize the different voices, let alone drown out discordances. Irreconcilable differences among and within people find a consilience within her craft, which is a tribute both to an extraordinary technique and to a bold and bottomless humanism.
Hello. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to Claire Gilman and the Drawing Centre. I'm just so bummed not to be there. I'm sure you all are too. With Jack Shear and Henry Taylor, we were going to have a laugh, man. It was going to be good. But here we are virtually, and we're going to make the best of it. Because, like all of you, I am in semi-isolation. I'm going to have to interview myself And I've set 4 short questions. I'm not going to take up much of your time. And I'll try and answer them. The first is, what is your relationship and history with visual art? I guess what really surprises me is that I don't think I had a strong history with visual art because I was very anxious about my relationship with it. You know, as far as visual culture goes, I have a great susceptibility to beauty, and, you know, I like my clothes. But I thought that susceptibility to beauty meant that I was interested in bad art, or only portraiture, or only what was pretty. So I tended to keep my mouth shut in art situations. But as I got older, it's become a great source of nourishment for me, personal, aesthetic, and intellectual. To wit, why did you start writing about it? Part of the reason is genuinely practical. When you have small kids and you're a writer, often journals and magazines ask you to do things that you cannot do. Like, how would you like to go to 2 days to blah, 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 to write about whatever? Or what about this 500-page book to review? And I was getting more and more frustrated at the gap between my daily reality and what people seem to think a writer should do. But because I live downtown, one of the things I was doing a lot with my kids for aesthetic, intellectual nourishment was going to galleries, going to a drawing centre, going to the Whitney with my kids, and realising this incredible time differential with art, that I could stand in front of it for 5 minutes even and have an incredibly deep and complicated aesthetic reaction while my children were screaming. And that could all be done simultaneously. So that was the first practical element. And then as I began to do it, I realized it was a way for me to write about the things I cared about, to write about black culture, to write about feminism, to write about the principles of art itself. And it was a way to do it through a kind of estrangement, because this wasn't my medium, and I was much less confident and much more eager, to understand what was in front of me. I could take nothing for granted, if you see what I mean. And it just became one of the great joys of my life. What have you gained by writing about visual art? Maybe more than anything, relationships with artists, and the realization that the way I think of the world linguistically and through concepts is just one way to think. I've been so struck by being close to minds that think visually. That's the best way I can put it. And what I wanted to do when I was writing about these minds is pay attention to them in their specificity, to say, these are not writers, these are not musicians, these are visual artists. What is particular to them? And also to try and write about it in a way that was comprehensible and interesting to them. Because I guess one of the things I noticed when I dipped my toe in the water is that many artists I knew had a very disconnected relationship with the criticism that was written about them. Either it meant nothing to them, it was written in a kind of academicese, a jargon which they couldn't comprehend, or it was entirely emotionally cool, as if this were a kind of distant scientific object to be studied. I really wanted to meet artists where they lived, to listen to them about their practice and take what they said seriously and try and understand what they said. Because, visual artists are a little weird, if you don't mind me saying, no offense, Henry. They have their own way of being in the world. And if you approach every work of art with your set of theories, your arguments, you're missing so much. So it was such a bracing experience to spend time with someone like extraordinary, like Henry Taylor, or with Toyin, or with Lynette. Even if it wasn't always in person, if it was on email, if it was virtual, it was exposure to a completely different way of seeing. It changed the way I see it, changed the way I write. It made me less aggressively obsessed with linguistic concepts, a little freer. And it brought an enormous amount of beauty into my life. And I'm just incredibly grateful. I'm really grateful for the Drawing Centre for putting me in this company with real artists and real curators. To me, this is a visual culture, but the visual culture we're in is often momentary, disposable, always being co-opted for something else, to sell a product, to make an argument, to shock or whatever. Visual artists, for me, are the last people who are making images with care and intention and love, and not for the likes, but for all time. And it's a privilege to write about them. Thank you. Have a great evening.
We would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who made this past year at the Drawing Center remarkable.
Thank you to Edie Fake for his epic installation in our stairwell.
To the wonderful Curtis Tallway Santiago for sharing so much of himself with the Drawing Center and our audience over the past 7 months.
To Laurie Jo Reynolds and the Chicago 400, and to the family of Guo Fengyi for sharing her legacy and her visionary drawings.
Thank you to our install team for making miracles happen.
Thank you to all our dynamic and resilient students and our brave teachers who participate in our Michael Iovenko school programs, and to the dedicated creativity of all our inspiring teaching artists.
And to everyone who attended in this year's public programs.
Thank you to everyone who's participated in our recent online programming. You've helped us explore the possibility of what it means to connect with the Drawing Center virtually.
Thank you to the donors who have sustained us. This year, your support will allow us to engage larger audiences than ever before, and for that, we remain deeply grateful.
To the Department of Cultural Affairs, the New York Council on the Arts, and the National Endowment for the Arts.
And to all of our members for their ongoing enthusiasm.
Thank you to all of the artists who participated in open sessions.
And to the writers and scholars
who've contributed to our publications.
And finally, a very big thank you to all of our amazing visitors.
We can't wait to welcome you back to the Drawing Center.
Thank you, Henry and AC, Zadie and Dr. Appia, Jack and Aggie. You inspire us to live our lives in art with curiosity and strive to make our communities better, more equitable, and more loving for everyone. And so do all of you. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting the Drawing Center. Drawings can't save the world, but art can help us make sense of it and find joy, even enlightenment, in life's details. Long live art, long live drawing, and long live the Drawing Center. Good night.